Okay, so first of all, hello and a big warm welcome to everyone from different parts of the world. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're from. I'm Christabel Singh. I'm Associate Director Marketing at upGrad KnowledgeHut. And together with Scaled Agile Inc., we're very, very pleased to bring you this exclusive live session, Agile Transformation to Business Value, where we're going to be pulling back the curtain on real world transformation, led by some of the brightest minds. We are excited to have a fantastic panel with us today, truly inspiring leaders. We have Andrew Sales in the room, Chief Methodologist and SAFE Fellow at Scaled Agile, and Tessa Powell, the ASPC co-creator, product owner, product manager at Scaled Agile. Oscar Kowecki, who is SPCT and Safe Practice Head at upGrad KnowledgeHut. And of course, our passionate community of Agile practitioners, all of you, and transformation leaders with transformation stories from different industries. So we're honored to hold the space for you and have you join us today. Before we get started, what we wanted to do was to help us get a feel for the room. If you could drop in the comments where you all are at right now, which country you're coming in from, and also um, where you are in your safe journey, what safe certification you have with us, that would be great. If you can drop that in the Zoom chat, or if you're joining us from LinkedIn, if you can have that added in the comments, that would be great. To kick us off and set the stage, I'm going to invite each of our panelists to introduce themselves. Andrew, Tessa, Oscar, we'd love to hear not just about what you do, but really what's energizing you today in this space of agile transformation. What is it that is keeping you passionate? So, if you can give us a quick insight into that before we dive into a slightly deeper dive from Andrew and then followed by Tessa and Oscar.
Actually, I will mention something that you said during the SAFE summit in the lovely Sorrento, that basically the goal of SAFE is to solve real business problems for our clients, for our companies, for our communities. And this is what has always been my passion for the last couple of years. Not only looking at the frameworks, which is obviously very, very comprehensive, but trying to always answer the question how it can change our businesses, how it can change our life, how can it fuel the profit, reduce the cost, and make our customers more happy. And I'm really, really excited that the framework is moving forward even more to those values. Thank you. That would be me.
Yeah, thank you, Oscar. Well, look, great to be on the call and to see so many people here. As was mentioned, my role at Scaled Agile is as chief methodologist. And one thing that we're always thinking about at Scaled Agile is how do we evolve the framework to make sure it's best suited, as Oscar mentioned, for the problems that need to be solved. And I think one of the really exciting things, but also challenging things at the moment, is the world of transformation, of creating your own way of working that solves your particular problems, is getting more and more complex day by day. New technologies, just the pace at which things like AI are disrupting the ways of working, means that Tessa and myself have been enjoying the challenge of thinking really deeply about what does it look like to create a role, the ASPC role, that can really navigate some of these complexities. How can they configure their own way of working? How can they help to understand the opportunities with AI? How can they lead across the whole organization? So excited to share some more on that, but definitely that's one area that's been really inspiring and it's going to take up a lot of our attention for the months to come.
Yeah, and I'm Tessa Powell. I'm the product manager of courseware at Scaled Agile. I was also the instructional designer on ASPC. And the thing that really excites me is kind of taking the gap between you in your job trying to do safe and what the guidance we provide as Scaled Agile, moving it from theory into practice so that you can be solving those real business problems, especially as the framework evolves to get more and more complex in an ever increasing complexity out in the market. I just find that really fascinating.
Thank you so much, Andrew, Oscar, and Tessa, for that. And we'll hand the floor over to Andrew.
Yeah, thank you. So let me try and share my screen here. Okay, brilliant. So let me move us on a slide. I mean, you've already heard the introductions, but quickly I'll just point out this title that you see here. And I'm only going to take about 7 minutes to go through these slides. So I want to keep it nice and short. But it's almost time for the next SAFE Summit. You know, Denver will be here the first week of September, or just into the second week of September before we know it. And my keynote there is really going to be around this topic of how do we navigate transformation complexity. And I think we've moved now from the situation where the goal was to implement SAFE, to launch Agile release trains, to stand up SAFE portfolios. And now it's about more continuous attention to the business problems that Oscar mentioned, day by day, to help address some of the challenges that we see, and some of the challenges we don't even know about yet, but we're pretty sure are going to come our way in the months ahead. So what I thought we could do today, just briefly, and this is really letting you see some work that myself and Tessa are doing in real time, some work that we're doing to really try and put the framing around what does an ASPC mean, and where do we see ASPCs fitting in alongside, of course, SPCs. And the plan is that we can continue to do some of this framing. We're excited to get feedback from you today. And then as we get closer to the summit, and then at the summit, we'll have a really clear understanding of how ASPCs can help us to navigate, not only with the course as it is today, but with new evolutions to the course, some of these complexities. So I put this slide up here, but I think this is one that we're all familiar with. This is the responsibility wheel for the SPCs as it exists in the framework today. There's one addition that we've made, which is this phrase on the left-hand side. This may not be the perfect phrase, but we've added it for reflection today. SPCs help us accelerate business agility, and they do that primarily by implementing SAFE. It doesn't mean that there aren't other SPCs who work in specific parts of the business, or some that actually have full-time jobs inside the organization. But when we think about the implementing SAFE class, it was really to equip them with the skills they needed to launch arts, to extend to the portfolio, and to help us really take steps towards achieving business agility. Now, I think something happened that we saw very strongly come through in the State of SAFE survey this year. So if you remember back quite a way now, end of last year, we spoke about the new State of SAFE survey we were launching. And then at the beginning of the year, we shared the results. You saw a lot of things in that State of SAFE survey. One meta trend that we saw is that there is a gap between adoption of SAFE and maturity of SAFE. So another way to put it is that we're very mature in terms of organizations and practitioners, but many of those organizations still struggle to really make sure that SAFE is as effective as they want in their particular context. And I just chose this slide from the report. There's a few things that are interesting on it, things like leadership engagement, things like how do we take SAFE into other non-IT domains, things like how do we use metrics and KPIs to really illustrate that we're delivering value with the work we're doing. When you take a step back and have a look at the things that are coming through the State of SAFE survey, and then you look at some of the things that we're trying to bring into the ASPC course, you'll see some really strong correlations. Things like really supercharging your LPM implementation. So please, if you haven't seen it yet, do get a chance to have a look at the State of SAFE report. Now, this is a brand new slide that I'm sure no one has seen before. And this is really part of the work we're doing at the moment, as Tessa mentioned. How can we build a good understanding of what it means to go from an SPC to an ASPC and beyond with your SAFE career? And of course, when we talk about ASPCs, what we mean by the term advanced is not that this is a different group of people. This is SPCs, such as many of you are on the call today, who are engaging with advanced skills and advanced practices. We've never had a responsibility wheel before to describe these areas that fall within this particular role. We've put one together. It's really a critical thinking tool to help differentiate and build, hopefully, the excitement about going from SPCs to ASPCs. I'm going to go through the wheel very quickly, and then I'll pass it to Tessa to talk a bit about what went into designing the course. But have a look at the catchphrase on this slide. ASPCs lead, sustain, and navigate complex transformations. I can't promise you that might not change between now and the summit, but that is really how I see the difference here. We're accelerating business agility by implementing SAFE. Step one, fantastic. SPCs have had huge amounts of success. They've driven all the SAFE adoption across the world to date. But organizations are telling us they see different challenges. Now we need to go one step further and equip SPCs to become advanced in the tools and practices and behaviors they need to really navigate transformation complexity. So have a look at the wheel, but just know I'm going to step through this very briefly now before I hand it to Tessa. It's no surprise that unlocking AI opportunities should be on the ASPC responsibility wheel. If you've taken the ASPC course, this is content that isn't in there today, but will be as we evolve it for the next rev. And just know that if you've taken any version or you've taken the ASPC course currently, anytime we add content like this, we will create the opportunity to become up to date with this new content through some kind of online learning experience. It is just mind-boggling when you see the failure rates of AI adoption and AI operational and trying to take AI solutions through to production and operations today. There's so much excitement, there's so much goodwill, but there's a huge gap in execution. And one of the things that we see is this collection of blind spots that are simply hindering organizations in being successful. The gap between what the business need and what gets delivered. The fact that AI remains in this POC graveyard, and the fact that we're often chasing hype rather than getting grounded in reality. ASPCs need to help us escape these three traps. They need to become AI native. They're the ones that we need to help drive AI opportunities across the organization. The second piece that I think is critical and talks to the transformation complexity is already in the ASPC course. It's about connecting business results and driving those through safe outcomes. We're doing a lot of work at the moment around ROI, and we hear very clearly that some organizations struggle to demonstrate the true business value they get from SAFE. We're looking to ASPCs to help close this gap and really develop the skills needed to do this successfully. And then the engaging executives piece. You know, Oscar knows that we've always talked about leading by example, and that's great. We respect the fact that there are leaders at every single level of the organization, but there is something truly magical about unlocking executive support. And we know from the organizations that we hear year in, year out on the stage at the summit, is those that get their executives to truly lead from the front. Those are the ones that really have success that goes above and beyond all the others. SPCs are doing a great job here, but we haven't given them all the tools they need to be successful. We're going to make sure ASPCs have these tools and they can be as successful as possible with truly reaching into the boardroom, to their executive teams, and making sure the organization has the best possible footing to succeed. And then one thing we heard loud and clear through the State of SAFE survey is that organizing around value is still one of the biggest impediments when it comes to implementing SAFE. We spend about half a day on the fourth day or third day of the implementing SAFE class, helping to think about how we organize our arts around value. It's a critical move to be successful. We don't talk at all about organizing portfolios. The challenge of organizing around value has moved beyond the teams and the art. It's now at the strategy and portfolio level. And through the ASPC course, equipping them to be able to do this successfully unlocks that final promise of bringing lean to the ability to truly affect strategic flow. And then the final part of the wheel, new and emerging thought leadership. It's not in the ASPC course today. It will be in the next rev that we make. I'm going to talk a lot about this at the Denver Summit. At the end of the day, it's about building your own way of working for your organization. How do you adapt SAFE? How do you improve SAFE? How do you extend SAFE? Maybe it's being driven by technological advances. Maybe it's pressure being brought on by specific contexts that the organization works in. You can see the big picture here as a government-specific version. We're doing a huge amount of work at the moment to give ASPCs a toolkit and all the guidance they need to truly affect and configure the framework. From the model of how do you change the people, the work, and the activity constructs, to the thinking tools to help you do that effectively, to potentially some of the assets you might need, such as big pictures and icons, to truly build a configurable way of working inside your organization. This is a real differentiator when it comes to thinking about how can you be successful with navigating some of this complexity. So I think, Tessa, you've got a couple of slides. I hope that was a nice setup for what we're going to go into next. And I hope that gives you some insight into how Tessa and I are thinking about the value proposition of the individual and tying it really closely to the work to be done to help organizations all around the world be successful. Tessa,
Yeah,
did you want to say
great
something
setup.
on this one? Yeah.
I think you set it up well in saying that SPCs start the process of implementing SAFE, and it's really great that we have such a wide reach and that we have experts all over the world leading the change in that way. the advanced SPC course is designed for experts to encounter transformational learning in order to continuously grow in their role. So there were two guiding principles that I used behind advanced SPC when we were building the course, and they're fairly simple. In order to successfully learn, learners need to transform, and that's both in perspective and in behavior. So successful learning is transformative to the learner. And then the learner's individual transformation journey is the most comprehensive, sustainable, and endures the longest when that learner is able to practice what they're learning in a psychologically safe environment that actually simulates what they do in their job when they're going to be trying to recall these new skills and practices they've learned. So some of the ways we have built that into advanced SPC is we've made it a much more flexible course than some of our others. It is not designed to be a 4-day long course where you are just bombarded with information. Not that there isn't a place for that, but for these purposes, we know that SPCs are very busy, and it might be better to have a course where you can take part of it 1 day at a time or half a day at a time, depending on how the partner you take it from has set it up. And then the Learning Lab is a new learning pattern inside of advanced SPC that we have not done before in any of our courses. It's a module in advanced SPC in which you take what you have learned from the course and you apply it to a very real simulated experience in situations that you're going to encounter in your day-to-day job. And I hope that we hear from the advanced SPCs that are here on the panel with us, and I hope that they can kind of share their experience in the Learning Lab and how real it felt and whether or not they've been able to look back on that learning in their job currently. So this is what we're imagining, and it kind of our way of addressing the feedback we hear often that SAFe is great in theory, but difficult to do well in practice. And I think, Andrew, you have one more slide you want to share.
Well, it may not be that now's the best time to share, but I wanted to just show this just quickly as like almost an illustration of how you're going to start to see us expanding the lens a little bit in terms of what we think about when we think about transformation complexity. So it's no, secret that AI is one of the big pressure points that we're trying to navigate at the moment. And if you haven't had a look, not for now, but please go and have a look. We're really thinking about how we can bring AI to the time we have together in Denver at the next summit. And you'll certainly hear me on stage talk about AI and the impact it's having in terms of the complexity I described. So if it's of interest to you to kind of really get to grips with this, just know that we've got deep dives for ASPCs and anyone attending the summit on topics like AI. Obviously, that's the one that we're all of us are paying most attention to at the moment and thinking about how to navigate. So I hope that was useful, Oscar and others, as kind of a little backdrop. I'm happy to stop sharing the slides now, or if there's one slide that would be useful to have up while you do the Q&A, please let me know.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Andy, and thank you so much, Tessa, for sharing amazing and exciting news. So cannot wait to see the whole presentation during the summit in Denver, and really looking forward to see how this course is going to evolve. Because from my experience to everybody on the call as PCT, as the trainer, it was really a mind-blowing experience to be able to run this class, especially that I've been able to run this workshop in what was previously when we tried to match the transformation OKRs with the business OKRs to several companies, and they said that this was really the game-changing experience for them, because suddenly they now can really track how the transformation is going to help them to boost their revenue, or for example to reduce the cost. Also, exactly as you said, we need to help the organizations to design their portfolios. They're not good at that, and they are making choices a little blind. And the last thing, I believe we all hear those things and read those things on LinkedIn, that Agile is dead, and that the leaders are actually responsible for that, because they are the ones who most of the people blame for the failed Agile and safe transformations. At the same time, exactly as Andy, you said, the people who were able to bring the leaders on board, they are the ones who were actually successful with their transformations and with the organizations. And yes, actually, being able to engage with the leadership is a skill like any others, and any skill in the world can be learned and needs to be practiced. So we have here with us our really four brilliant minds, colleagues of mine, who I'm lucky to be able to call this way, because they were the part of our first ASPC cohort, and they are one of the earliest ASPCs in the world, the earliest adopters of the framework. So if you could briefly introduce yourself, I will go from the left to the right. John, please go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Chukwemeka John, and I've worked with a couple of industries. And if I have to talk a little bit about myself, I can't say much without talking about Agile. And since I came into Agile, the first time I did Agile certification was when I was having problem. I was working somewhere and I looked at the team. I asked myself, how am I going to solve this? I did the first SAFe certification. And since then on, I've been doing series of certification. I learned that you do certifications, especially when you have problems to solve sometimes. You look at certification, there's always a solution there. You take the course, is what I've learned, and that's what I've been doing, and I've never regretted it since then.
Amazing. Thank you so much, John. It's great, a pleasure to have you here with us. Urli, please go ahead.
Yes, hi, I'm Uli. I'm ASPC, RTE, LPM, SASM, and I think I'm an expert in Scrum, Kanban, Lean, and launching, optimizing agile processes and change. And I have also experience as product owner in global medical devices and worked many years as agile software developer. And so enabling effective coaching of developers and product owners, that's my work. And I had the privilege of participating in the advanced Safe Practice Consultant course with Oscar, and it was one of my most valuable and inspiring learning experience in my professional journey. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Uli. You always make me blush a little bit. Thank you for your kind words. And Kurt, please go ahead.
Hi everyone, my name is Kurt Evenepoel. I help leaders ensure that their transformations, be that agile or digital, that they deliver on their promises. So I have a big background in project management, program management, also enterprise architecture, some strategic consulting experience, and agile, of course. I focus, let's say, on change. So I'm also naturally curious, and every day I try to learn a new thing or become a little better. If you think I can help you in some way, just reach out to me. I'm always happy to help.
Thank you so much, Kurt. And Krishna, please go ahead.
Hello, everyone. My name is Krishna Jyoti. Recently ASPC again, Oscar. Thanks for the amazing workshop. Like most of us, I believe I also stumbled upon into agile ways of working a decade or so ago, and there's no looking back, right? And also with the SAFe, where we see it's not only about the team level, it's the organization level. That's what I'm very thrilled about SAFe, and that's what always led to me in continuous learning, and that's what I have ended up with the ASPC.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Krishna. So, without further ado, John, Urli, Kurt, Krishna, you're all very, very experienced SPCs. When I was looking at our class, we said that we had more than 100 years altogether with all the participants of experience being SPCs. So, please tell us, what made you say yes to the ASPC class?
It's been almost 8 years since I took my first SPC, SPC training, formal training. So with then leading a transformation in a couple of business units in my organization, and when I saw Scaled Agile actually launched ASPCs, I felt the need to actually take that formal step to equip myself and bring my experience as a SPC into this formal training and learning from other SPCs in the class, right? So that's what made me say yes to ASPC.
Thank you, Krishna.
For me, I do a lot of consulting and strategic work. So I mean, when I talk to leaders or executives, what they're mostly interested in is the topics in the ASPC. And it also gives a close link to my experience in consulting and enterprise architecture, where you're actually going to do more than just IT systems, and your half of your work is not really processes or just agile, but that's really transformation. That means there's many other skills involved, like you have to be negotiating, you have to be convincing, you have to do the difficult talks. There's so many skills that you have to master, and a lot of these topics come here in the ASPC training. It might be a baseline. You're not going to expect that every skill you're going to master after a short training, but it gives you a baseline and a guideline on what skills you might need to develop, on what skills you need to check that you that are important for roles like this. So that's why I like this training.
Thank you so much, Kurt. And Urli.
Yeah, and I already taught several of the big advanced courses and wanted to keep the option to doing so in the future. And the condition change in next years, in the next year. At the same time, I wanted to deepen my skills in strategy, LPM, and leadership engagement, and to be even more effective in complex environments. That was I was looking for.
Okay. For me, I'm going to say why I said yes is that there's this guy in KnowledgeHut that came to me. I'm always looking for a course to do every 3 months or so, or every 6 months. So the guy I wanted to do DevOps. I've started already. Then in between, I told the guy, I said, you know what, I'm not enjoying this. I think I can learn this on my own. It's going to work because KnowledgeHut has a self-paced learning and a classroom where you can combine both. So if you have questions, the guy is going to give you the answer and give you technical, how you can solve it technically. Then you can go back on your own and work it out with a self-paced. So I'm not satisfied. So the guy said, you know what, John, you've done SPC. Don't you go back and think about it? And I went back and thought about the ASPC. He gave me the manual, the PDF, he sent it to me. When I looked at it, I realized that I was struggling with one thing. I've set up different companies for people in Japan, in Nigeria, in South Africa from the beginning. So I realized that sometimes some things are missing. I don't have the confidence sometimes, to set up and give them the tools that is required. Then when he said to me, that was my main, I wanted to find out exactly, what is in this that can help me from the portfolio level to help. And when I got to it, I wasn't, I was impressed because the tools were there, like the OKR, the transformation canvas, exactly. I found that interesting. It was fun though.
Yes, wonderful insights. Thank you. Thank you to all our ASPC learners. Now, let's get right into the results. We want to ask you, how has ASPC changed the way that you approach solving business problems with SAFE?
Definitely, it gives you the what you call intentional approach to transformation, right? So transformation is not going to be like you have to do it, or the business wants, so that's why you're doing it. You have to be intentional about it because these are complex interconnections within the organization. And without the right tools and the right practices to back you up, it will be very difficult to actually approach the transformation. So, like for example, if you talk about OKRs, business outcomes, not having a transformation canvas and not defining transformation OKRs or linking them back to the business OKRs is very challenging because leaders would be engaged at the beginning of the cycle and they'll lose engagement. So transformation OKRs actually help the engagement to be sustained across not only the initial phase, but across as the transformation is going on.
Yes. Shall I continue?
Yes, please.
Okay. How has the ASPC changed the way? I know I now start consistently with desired business outcome and then choose the smallest necessary set of safe practice that for me it creates an impact without unnecessary overhead. Example, when you focus on flow matrix, clear PI objectives, sensible WIP limits, and lean portfolio sync, you can shorten decision times and increase delivery pace. When you maintain this focus, you can avoid some kind of method noise.
Okay, should I go?
Yes,
All right.
yes, John. Please continue.
Okay, what I find interesting with one of the things I took from this from the training is the trust and the influencing leaders. I remembered when Oscar was talking about this, I asked a series of questions and I was trying to buy in from him. I was trying to psych him to see if he's going to play along with what I believe in. But he kept on saying no. As an SPC, your job is to influence the leaders. You need to look for ways to influence the leaders. And I remembered Kurt said something during the training that how he is able to meet them maybe in the lobby or something. And there's this other guy we met that we had the training with, discuss how they were able to influence their own leaders too. I find that as a key takeaway for me. So as an SPC, you don't accept no as an answer. You need to be resilient. You need to be able to build the trust as much as you can, influence your leaders. And I find that as a very good tool. There are so many others, but this I find very, I've been using it. It's something I see practical for me.
Thanks,
Right.
John.
Yes, you learn a lot, or you practice a lot, and you learn a lot from other SPCs, and by working closely together, you get into their mind, and so that gives you also an extra perspective on how they tackle the problems. Because I have my way of doing things, but there's people with very different personalities in the training. And so we are given tools like the strategic transformation roadmaps, which is very useful because before you had a safe implementation roadmap, which is basically about safe. But the strategic transformation roadmap makes you plan everything that comes along with it, like change management initiatives, or preparing the fact that you actually need maybe a CI/CD environment, because if you don't have any of the DevOps practices in place, maybe you're not gonna realize much benefit at the start. So you need to include it at the start, and then linking it from the start to the objectives of the organization. So you're safe. You don't just implement safe, and you have the traditional diagram with these are the benefits of safe. And they're good. There might be something that helps convince people. But in the end, what senior management wants to see is, okay, but how is this going to help my business? And that is what you also plan for in this training, which is a very different approach than just learning the roadmap to implement SAFe. So it has definitely some extra value, and the tools that they are offering you in the training, in the different modules, they all contribute to a more strategic role than just an implementation of SAFe, but more focused on the business outcomes, which is basically key if you want to have a successful transformation, not just a SAFe implementation.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all that. And what I can share you also, Tessa, from the trainer perspective, I would really, really pay to be part of this course, even as a listener, somebody who can actually listen to those all those discussions during those this 3 days of training. So, and I really mean it. It was really, really amazing to hear all of the examples from different fields and like Kurt, you mentioned, yeah, we were basically learning from one another, and there were parts of the training when it was you actually who was teaching all of you some of those topics. So it was also my takeaway as a trainer that I've never learned that much in the 3-day course that I have facilitated. So thank you so much for that from the really deep of my heart. And exactly, we already mentioned a little bit, and we have talked about it a couple of times, yeah, that without the metrics, you're just another person with an opinion, and that this course gives you actually the ability to show me the metrics and show me the money, where the money really is. Now we can connect the safe implementation with those goals and with those OKRs. But the next real big topic that we have talked about, and Andy was showing this as well, is the LPM adoption. And now many organizations who feel that they are very good in safe implementation, it doesn't necessarily mean that they have implemented it perfectly, but they need our help and they need our guidance. So could you please share with us how this training changed, how you are currently adopting LPM, and also basically how are you helping the organizations to strategically align their portfolios and initiatives? Krishna, please go ahead.
So LPM itself is a very complex, what you call, let's call it, if you're training the leaders in LPM, that itself is complex to not only teach but implement, because it requires a mindset shift of leaders who are actually used to doing certain way of things. Right now, we're asking them to not only uh, give you the go ahead, but also you're asking them to get involved and makes their feet dirty as well, right? So one thing which the ASPC course actually provided was the insight into the types of portfolios, right? Sometimes you do a value stream mapping and then assign, oh, this portfolio is a regulatory portfolio or a product portfolio. Then you forget about uh, like going back and revisiting based on the needs and changes in the what you call business objectives. So the toolkit that I found mostly, which is like helpful in LPM going forward, will be the looking at the types of portfolios that are available in the toolkit, and don't hesitate to what you call try out if it's a innovative portfolio that you want, right? Because you'll see in real life most often leaders say, hey, can I have this project as an exception? They'll be working on something else. You don't need to worry about it. And now that is now going to be avoided, because we can leverage the different types of portfolios to say, if you're doing an R&D, we have it, we can look at it that.
Okay, I continue.
Please.
In my opinion, early clarity on portfolio vision and on value streams cuts and accelerates funding and sequencing decisions. Less politics, more impact. For example, when you use a shared vision canvas and then you apply the way the job first, you can order competing epics and launch target hypothesis tests. With lean budget guardrails and a simple portfolio Kanban, you can further stabilize flow. When you proceed like this, you can noticeably reduce time to funding.
For me, I also did, I trained some organizations on LPM. And I did the courseware, but still there were some points. So I did the enablement and everything, but there's still some points that are not covered in there. And that means also the different types of portfolios. At first I was a little bit skeptical, because a single portfolio for most organizations, it's pretty simple and it's easy to go to solution. But the context and nuance delivered in the course was actually, it gave me food for thought, and resulted in me like that I have to give it more thought at my clients, but it also depends a little on the size. No, I mean, if you just have one art, then maybe it's not a good idea to have 3 portfolios. But still, the context is there very important, and maybe I should think more about organizing and be maybe more flexible also with organizing the different types of portfolios that are described there, which was actually news for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna say on my side, there is this software we're trying to roll out, which was an association software. Then we struggle with we've not done it before, so it's not like there's a lesson learned from something we have. But because it's hard to decide how much we're going to charge them, it was a little bit hard to make the decision. So after the training with the LPM, I saw how easy it can be to know how much it's going to cost, which means take it to the value stream and let them decide how much it's going to cost, which was easier. It was one of the things I was, and aside from the outcome of the whole thing, but give it to the team. Though these were the things we learned as SPCs that let the team take is one of the principles there. So let them decide on how much it's going to cost instead of you trying to decide for them, which is sometimes what the management wants, is how they've been doing it. They want you quicker, but do you really get the right cost? And also you need to look at the business value also of the associations, of the organization. So it means that you need to make sure that everything works together. So understand the strategies for both the business, the transformation that you want to do, that the company that you are outsourcing to. So it's with the LPM, it makes the management easier. It makes everybody to understand his role in the whole transformation process.
Lovely to hear the real world impact that ASPC is having. Now, just to get a bit more tactical, we want to ask each of you, what is the one ASPC practice or tool that you use every week?
It's so recent that I would not say every week yet, but one tool I intend to use is the transformation canvas and revisiting it every time in the portfolio meetings. Transformation canvas is truly something that will keep the pulse of the leaders involved.
I use a lightweight inspect and adapt combined with risk roaming and try to create weekly learning loops and clearer decisions. Root causes, analyzing countermeasures, prioritizing, and risk, and try to handle risk transparently as resolve, own, accept, mitigate. When you feed the insights and roam and a roam board consistently into executive reviews, you can remove blockers early and secure commitment. Yeah, and when you establish this routine, you can stabilize progress and reduce surprises.
As for me, what I now started doing, and it might sound a little funny to some people, but I started using OKRs for myself. So I have now my weekly goals, my trimester goals, my yearly goals, and I have actually after the course, I actually went for a deep dive in OKR and I studied some extra. I always think a course is a good initiation, but if you want to really go deep, there's always more material. What I also did is I added the preparation for difficult conversations to my toolbox. So it means it's now part of one of my templates in case I'm preparing for a difficult meeting. It's something I added. It might not be appropriate for every situation, but your toolbox, the wider it gets, the more impact you can create. And there's also a topic for my tool belt that I'm using, and that is the behaviors. So they have a list of behaviors for increasing your influence. And so with my preparation, I'm matching to see if my behaviors at least touch some of these behaviors. Maybe it's the meeting is not going to go perfect, but it forces me also to keep it in mind because the meeting that I'm having now, it's one about the content, but it's also about creating a longer lasting relationship or an ongoing relationship and trust and influence. And that's something you do on an ongoing basis. So that's a secondary goal of every meeting. And so that's what I keep in mind. And that's also an relatively easy to use checklist that you're provided with, that you can use to check, okay, am I demonstrating behaviors that will increase my influence and over time?
On my side, I also did a deep dive into the OKRs too. I see it as a very good tool because you always want to see the results that you're working on. It has been helping me, to be sincere, because I've worked on 2 different softwares since we finished this ASPC. One is out already. Within 2 weeks, it came out. And this is because, one, I looked at that, the OKRs, trying to look at the result I'm getting. Then I wrote a book on empathy. Then what I see the difference between how empathy is being emphasized
Using a book on empathy.
How empathy is being emphasized as in SPC. When we did SPC, empathy is more of emotional intelligence. But when we look at ASPC, empathy is more of emotional competency. So it's more broadened. Then you see it goes beyond just being understanding, being emotionally intelligent. So I looked at this, I compared to the book in which I'm writing. I've finished writing the book, though it's out for edit and stuff. I see how empathy is very much emphasized in every aspect. When I'm dealing with a team, I'm trying to get the key result out of a team. I want to get something done properly. It's one tool in which the way is emphasized in ASPC is more than how it has ever been emphasized, especially that emotional competency. And it has been helping me so far since I finished that training.
Thank you so
Wonderful,
much.
John.
Thank you so much for sharing. That was really, really powerful. And actually, this is something that I wanted to ask all of you. Andy mentioned already that there will be definitely a lot of more covering AI in the future. That's pretty obvious. But as we already discussed during this course, maybe in the age of AI, your emotional intelligence is actually going to be the most crucial and the most valuable skill that you will have, because AI is not that good in emotional intelligence yet. I don't know how fast it's going to change, but at least not yet. So could you please tell me, because we are always talking about those tools and those practices within this course, but talking and engaging the leaders and emotional intelligence was a big part of this course. And how you found it useful, and how are you using it right now in your everyday life?
Yeah, I think definitely AI is here to stay. So where we use is to get the grind, like in the sense the repetitive tasks and things like that, right? Then focus on the people aspect of your skills, and your expertise should be focusing on engaging leaders, the people side of things, where having the hard conversations, uh, like not collecting metrics versus choosing the right metrics. So once you decide on what metrics to implement or to at various levels, right? That's another thing we found in the ASPC course, is a concept about balanced metrics. So the balanced metrics actually helps in you defining them well. Obviously, you can use AI to help collect on an ongoing basis. But as a people and a person knowing the teams on a day-to-day basis and engaging the leaders on a day-to-day basis, you can actually interpret them better.
I was a little bit out. Please, which was the question?
Uli, could you please share a little bit how are you using also the part regarding the emotional intelligence in the course? And by the way, as Krishna mentioned, we are also having the learning lab, when obviously we're analyzing a lot of those topics, but we were always also able to. Then it was us who needed to interpret and to also give the results and suggestions to our clients.
Please give the question to the next participant.
No worries. So
Okay.
Kurt, John, would you like to pick it up?
Yeah, when I look at emotional, the way I use it, if you, as I have a lot of guys I deal with, the client, it's more important for me when I'm dealing with these guys that doesn't know what they want. You know, if you don't deal with them emotionally, if you don't, okay, let me start with, we need to understand what are the emotions. I remember the Plutchik wheels of emotions. If you look at those, understanding what emotion leads to what, it's also the basis of us being emotionally intelligent. I remember we did that in SPC. Then it was in SPC, but it's not here. But in as ASPC, we see how we can implement this as leaders. So when we are dealing with our teams and leaders especially, we need to be emotionally intelligent on what they need. Understanding what they're actually saying sometimes, empathize with them. They might say things they don't really, sometimes they are even a little bit confused with what they want. And we need to be able to understand what are they really talking about? What do they really want? If we don't have that emotional intelligence, we won't be able to display that. And what helps me again to be able to get the sense out of them, which I also practice, is understanding the different levels of communication. You know, understanding what the person is saying. You know, understanding that what a person says is just 7% of the communication. There are more to it, the body language and others. We need to be emotionally intelligent to understand all these aspects when we're trying to get the best out of people. So as leaders, we really need to understand how we can, you know, especially the leaders. I concentrate on leaders a lot because I remember during the training, you emphasize so much on understanding your leaders. Don't give up on them. And if any mistake you make, you're trying to share your transformation journey with them, you've lost it entirely. They might not give you 30 minutes to talk. It might just be 5 minutes to show what you have to offer. So that 5 minutes, are you able to use it to the best? You need to be emotionally intelligent to do that. Understand when the discussion is moving to something else. Understand when you need to change. You know, if it's becoming obsolete, re-strategize is instant decision. So it's a lot I've been putting into practice, and it has helped me to achieve certain things within this period. Like I said, the software we developed recently was based on the fact that we were able to understand what they really needed.
Thank you, John. And Kurt, what's your takeaway?
For me, ASPC focuses a little bit on aspects that are less common in consulting, meaning you're going to mediate and maybe, so you're going to mediate conversations so that people are respected. You're going to avoid certain hot points or steer the conversation in other directions. You have to be in control of the conversation, of the narrative. Be tactful and respectful to people, but also make sure that the meeting or whatever you're trying to achieve, that it goes into the right direction. So that means sometimes you have to keep topics for another meeting. It's a very active role, more of a conversation mediator sometimes that you're going to have to do instead of just giving advice. Here you're actually going to make sure that the leaders are coming to a conclusion in a way that is convenient and respectful and empathetic to everyone. Which is not always an easy task. I mean, because there's conflicts of interest, there are different types of personalities, and you as an ASPC are going to have to mediate and are going to have to lead the conversation and guide the conversation in a certain way so that there's an outcome that is actually achieved and not just a discussion that is endless, which is a risk when there's strong interests involved. So that is a key takeaway for me. It's not just about consulting. It's actually also a lot about managing people or managing people emotions. There's the facts, which is what you want to achieve. But if you can't control the emotions around it, you're not going to achieve the facts either.
Thank you so much, Kurt. So, Christabel, after you, I think we need to wrap it up.
Yes, I was just taking stock of that. The hour has just flown, and we're just about getting into the groove with things over here. So again, thank you to everyone who's joined us. We will be extending this for just about a couple of more minutes because I think we're really in the flow. And before that, we want to just roll out a quick poll. We some of you placed your answers in the comments, but if you could also take this poll and help us understand where you are in your safe journey, in your certification journey, that would be helpful also for us to collect this as we proceed with the next question for our learners. Yes, I think we'll do like 2 rounds of a rapid, like on a round robin basis, a quick one for all of you.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So this will be like a rapid fire round. 1 sentence answer from each of you. What's the biggest myth about agile transformation that you've busted post ASPC? Yes.
Yeah, transformations are not hard, they are complex. So you just need the right toolkit and approach.
So John, please go ahead.
Okay, 1 sentence is going to be the leaders. I would say I can build the trust of my leaders in any situation. I'm just trying to phrase it properly in 1 sentence. That's what I can say.
Thank you, John. And Kurt.
Just one, okay. An agile transformation is a one-off thing. I think we've all seen that if you don't put a lot of attention in it and continuous attention and focus and habit forming and culture creating, that an agile transformation is utopia. It's something that if you don't form the habits, you don't form the culture. If you don't have the continuous focus, you're going to revert. That's something I've seen in many organizations also. So I think that's a myth, that it's a one-off thing.
Thank you, Kurt. Another one.
I found,
go ahead, Uli.
Yeah. One of my biggest myths is transformation equals rollout practices. And it only becomes effective with engaged leadership, measurable value, and learning culture. When you establish outcome change instead of ceremonies and secure sponsorship, you can achieve tangible progress.
Thank you, Uli. So the last question, in just 10 seconds, if somebody is thinking, should I take the ASPC course, what would you tell them in 10 seconds? Krishna.
Yeah, don't hesitate. Not only it will give you the toolkit and support, but also it will build you the confidence required because you learn from other SPCs as well.
Thank you, Krishna. Uli?
ASPC offers a practical learning path with important scenarios, solid OKR and LPM, and it keeps you qualified for the futures and advanced trainings.
Amazing. Thank you. John?
I'm going to say ASPC allows you to see transformation from the organizational point of view, not from the team level. So if you want to implement whatever you want to implement, think about the OKRs and stuff. It talks about transformation strategy, business strategy. Once you have both together, it's easy to achieve your goal, your objective. So you need to see whatever you're working as a team, in a team, or whatever capacity you're working on in the organization, you need to understand from the organizational point of view, what is the goal? ASPC allows you to see that. The whole structure, you see it from the top to the bottom, which is good.
Thank you, John. And Kurt, please go ahead.
So if you want to matter or play at the strategic level, then find an SPCT that you believe in, like, for example, Oscar. Just take the course. You will find several motivated, experienced SPCs to team up with in exercises. Very interesting. And the course is more than the material. You get slides, but it's also an experience. You gain the mindset of other people. You can learn from each other. And actually, as compared to the other like SPC training, you create more meaningful connections because basically you're going to work almost an entire day together in your teams, which is very you
Right.
create a lot of more connections. So and maybe one last thing, in our cohort, the feedback was everyone had fun doing it. That's also maybe an important aspect. The feedback in the end was very positive.
Thank you so much, guys, and it was a real pleasure and honor to have you on this course. Thank you so much. Christabel, over to you.
Awesome. So to wrap up and this rapid fire round, we want to ask you, what is one word for your ASPC experience?
Humbling,
Transformative.
A catalyst.
Resilience.
Wow. And Oscar, we'll open that up to you too. One word, teaching ASPC.
Inspiring.
Wonderful. Let's extend that to Tessa as well for co-creating the ASPC.
Fulfilling.
Wow, I'm sure. Andrew, to you as well.
Well, I feel like I have to say something like evolving, because ASPCs will always have to be at the forefront of evolving their skills. The challenges will be always increasing, and we hope they will always be tasked to navigate them on behalf of our organizations.
Wonderful. Yeah, there's so much to double click there, and I think this is going to be the first of many such sessions where we'll go deeper into this. Thank you very much to each one of you, and to everyone who's joined us. Thank you for joining, and we're sure this has been valuable. You will receive the session recording as well, and this will go up on our YouTube channel as well as on Scaled Agile. And we have here the link to the course. Team, if you can have that pulled up and shared on the screen as well, so that Oscar can take us quickly through the offering. And we have a session that's coming up later this week. Oscar, would you like to speak a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so if you would like to give it a go straight away, we start this Friday, and we will have the session on the week during the weekend. So this is your first opportunity, and then later also during the later on the 25th and the 22nd of August, we have an upcoming session as well. So if you would like to be the early adopter of ASPC cohorts, please join either of those two trainings.
I think we've, Andrew and Tessa have really powered through so many of the questions and answered them both in the Q&A and in the chat. And we'll really work through these and make these available to you as insights from the session exclusively for those who've attended as well. If there are any other burning questions, we're right here to help you out with those. And a big thank you to John, Ulrich, Krishna, and Kurt for joining us here. Thank you for your time, and thank you for sharing your experience with us.
Thank you so much, everybody. And what can we say? See you in Denver, at the SAFE Summit.
Yeah, I'd especially like to thank our ASPC panelists, because it's so rare to create a course and then actually hear how you go and solve real problems with what you learned in it. So that's really cool for me.
Just checking in on the Mahmood, we have shared on the screen the pricing for the US, and depending on where you're logging in from, you can access this link which we have on the page on your Zoom chat, which will give you, team, if you can have the link shared on LinkedIn as well for everyone who's joining us live from there. Yes, the recording will be made available to you.
All right. So thank you so much one
Yes.
more time for joining, and thank you so much once again to you, Andy, to you, Tessa, to all the panelists, and to all of you who had spent the time with us and asked the questions. And we're really looking forward to seeing you at the next sessions. And one more time, see you in Denver.